A major ICE raid of undocumented workers last week is having devastating impacts on the families of those arrested. Last week, federal agents arrested around 680 workers at food processing plants in 6 cities in Mississippi.
But none of the people who employed them illegally were charged. CBS News contributor Maria Elena Salias reports.
Ingrid Sontay is now the sole caretaker of 9 children, 6 of her own, including her 7-year-old son, who has autism. Her husband, Neri Sorak, who is the sole provider for the family, was arrested in last week's raids, along with her sister-in-law.
He wasn't perfect, but I really did love him. And I still do, but I miss him.
Of the 680 people detained, around 300 were temporarily released. But Sontay's husband, who is undocumented, was not one of them.
Every day I look at my kids crying. There's no good. There's no.
This woman, who asked us not to use her name out of fear for retaliation, works at Cook Foods and witnessed the raids. I wanted to alert others in the community that ICE was there so they wouldn't come to work, she says. As we've learned, it's a workplace with a troubling legal history. More than 50 former and current workers at Cook Foods filed a sexual harassment and labor abuse lawsuit against the company in 2011.
You were touched by the supervisor, and the supervisor would tell you that if you complained about it, you would get fired. So you didn't complain.
The lawsuit was settled last year for nearly $4 million, although Cook Foods said these cases involved numerous contrived and fabricated allegations of mistreatment.
Tengo un problema y se me escucha más fácil.
So now it's a lot easier for you because you have more rights, and there are ways for you to denounce any kind of injustice.
As far as the raids last week, no employers targeted have been prosecuted, as hundreds of undocumented workers are detained, separated from their families.
And anytime we execute a criminal search warrant, we're looking for additional evidence.
Mike Hurst is a U.S. attorney for the Southern District of Mississippi.
The operation last week was directed at those who employ undocumented immigrants, yet there are hundreds of workers in jail and not a single employer has been prosecuted. Why?
This was simply the execution of administrative and criminal search warrants at these different sites. If they come into contact with illegal aliens, their job is to enforce law.
And Maria Elena Salias joins us now with more. Thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure.
What a powerful, powerful story that you've done over the last several days on this really important subject. And we heard in your piece that as of now, no employers involved in the raids have been charged. That's unbelievable. It's mind-boggling. How likely is it that they may face at some point in the future some repercussions?
Well, you know, that's difficult to say. What's ironic about all this is that the target of this investigation was the employers who hire undocumented workers, yet the workers are now behind bars and the employers are not. And what the U.S. attorney for the Southern District of Mississippi told me is that this is an ongoing investigation and we're still gathering evidence, although this investigation has been going on for months already, so much so that they went ahead with the raids.
So the employees were the ones that were picked up. They're part of an investigation into their employer. Are they sort of considered evidence almost in this case? And then if they are, what happens to human evidence, if you will?
It would seem, and of course, some of these companies sort of like defend themselves, saying there's no way that we can know if a person is undocumented if they're presenting us with documents that look like they're real. But you know, some of the workers say, you know, that's kind of impossible. They know the majority of the workers there are Hispanic. The majority of the workers there, they know, are working with fake documents. In fact, some of them are harassed by saying, if you complain about the working conditions, we're going to call immigration. Of course, you know, these are it's hearsay and there's no way that you can prove that, but that is the word that we're hearing from some of the workers.
The other really powerful moment in your story, Maria Elena, is the young woman there who didn't want her face shown, but says that she's been sexually harassed on the job by her employer. How widespread is the mistreatment of some of these workers, undocumented employees, at the hands of their employers? In addition to dealing with everything else that they're dealing with, they also have to deal with a boss or an employer who might be sexually abusing them.
Well, it happens, and it happens quite a bit, especially in these types of companies that hire these workers that to them are disposable. They can do whatever they want with them because they know that they need the job, they need to work, so they don't complain about a lot of this harassment, whether it's labor abuse or whether it's sexual harassment. They did settle in the lawsuit, and it was a settlement for $4 million, even though the company continues to say, not admit any wrongdoing. You know, why would they dish out $4 million if they didn't do anything just to end it? So it is very, very common, and you see that not only in these chicken farms, but you see that on the fields. You see that in so many different types of companies that hire these undocumented workers.
We saw in your story the family there that is now missing a husband,
right,
missing a father. But I can imagine in a raid like this, there's probably, you know, married couples that were picked up, mothers
yes,
and fathers. Obviously, there are children who are missing either one or both parents.
Right.
What is happening with these children?
You know, we're getting contradicting information. According to the U.S. Attorney, he claims that all the children have been accounted for, that they're with their parents, at least one of their parents. But Child Protection Services from the state of Mississippi has given different information. The spokeswoman there, 5 days after the raid, said there were still a lot of children whose parents they couldn't find. Or they had been put together with their children. So that's another situation that's very difficult. So you have the separation of kids at the border, and you have the separation of kids from their families in situations like this with immigration raids. So I mean, the tragedy is that a lot of these children are American citizens. And I just want to point out one thing. I know people say, well, these people broke the law. They brought it upon themselves. And I did talk to Ingrid, the woman who was in this story. And she said, yes, I understand. I know that we broke the law. But we broke the law not to come here and take advantage of anyone, to take anything from anyone, to hurt anyone. But it was because we need to work. We need to feed our family. You know, we did it for our children. So again, they feel that the punishment doesn't fit the crime.
And there's always like the argument about supply and demand.
Well,
you know,
exactly.
Employers are hiring people.
If they didn't have those opportunities to work, those companies were not unscrupulously hiring them, then perhaps they might not take the great laborious journey to come here and run the risk of being.
But also, Vladimir, they're fulfilling a need.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like, they are not actually replacing other people's jobs. We need people to work, to do these jobs.
Right.
And so
I don't have the stats as of this morning, but I can tell you that 2 days ago, 2 of the factories were closed because they didn't have enough workers.
Wow.
And Cook Foods was holding a job fair. And we don't know how many American citizens went and applied for those jobs. Because, you know, it's not just a job. It's a job in which the working conditions are very rough. The pay is not good and the working conditions
health insurance.
are exactly very rough. In that lawsuit, some of these employees complained that if they asked for vacation, their supervisor would say, "You want vacation? Okay, but you have to pay me to let you go on vacation. You want to go to the bathroom? You have to pay me to go to the bathroom." So will an American citizen put up with that?
No way.
I don't think so.
Wow, Maria, thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure.